Welcome into another edition of Off the Leash. I'm Ashley Holder. That's Leah Doherty, Mark Schwab, and OBR's Fred Greetham. Listen, the Browns taking on the Tennessee Titans today. They lost this game 31-29. Just when you think it cannot happen, it absolutely happens. And I do want to do something first. I want to shout out Leah Doherty because Leah said that this was a game that they could lose. And I said, no. It's not a game they can lose.
I think everyone said no. I think everyone said they were going to win this game.
And Leah was the only one that said, listen, this is a losable game. And that's exactly what happened. This one coming down to a 2-point conversion that Shedeur Sanders was taken out of the game, which left a lot of people puzzled on that, to give it to a rookie, Quishon Judkins, to try and make him a quarterback, to give it to Gage. That just fell apart. And, I mean, that's just one of the major problems that went down today, guys.
Look, I just want to say it was clear as day last week. You know, the Titans were going to rush for 184 yards. They were going to have one of their better rushing performances. You know, were they one of the worst rushing teams in the league coming into this game? But I foresaw that, you know.
You did?
No, I did not. I felt like, because I always say that the Browns could win or lose any game, like it just doesn't surprise me. The way that they went and lost this game, that surprised me, when the defense has been that's what's kept them in games all season. That's what's been the cornerstone. And so to see the run defense completely break down like that, and Tony Pollard rush for, what did he have?
161.
161
on 25
2
carries.
touchdowns.
And also he had his career long today, 60 yards.
Before that, they were averaging just under 77 yards a game. Tony Pollard alone, 161 yards. So I didn't foresee that happening. But I did see a scenario in which the Browns could lose this game. Small positive, you have a takeaway. Shedeur Sanders, I mean, the fact that he threw, we hadn't had a Browns quarterback throw for over 300 yards this season. I think you saw him take a real step. So that was exciting. They did fight themselves back in this game. And then you mentioned the two failed 2-point conversions. But that was a doozy, y'all. It was cold, too. That's why I'm still in my coat, because I'm still cold.
Hey, nothing surprises me. As much losing football as I've seen, you guys might not even realize it. Since 99, they clinch now double-digit losses. So they have 10 or more. Mm-hmm. This is the 19th time since 99 they've had 10 or more losses. Think about that. That's 19 out of 27 seasons. That's better than 2/3 of the season's been. Not just losing years, horrible losing years.
Finding new ways to lose.
You know, the Jets a few weeks ago were trying to lose. Browns lost to them. Today, I said on another pregame show on the radio, if the special teams would be the biggest reason if they lose this game. And again, the opening kickoff, they talked all week about how great the return guy, Dyke, was. And he goes 41 yards, sets up field position. They get a touchdown. Block punt, which turned out to be the game difference, a 3-point difference in a 2-point loss. But again, mistake after mistake, they find ways to lose. And they did again today. Shedeur Sanders was playing great. And then he threw into double coverage. He said after game he's trying to make a play. But to his credit, after the Titans ran off 17 straight points, he rallied them with 2 touchdown drives in the final 6 minutes. And I didn't see that out of a lot of quarterbacks. Now, the 2-point conversion's another story, but he showed me, instead of giving up, leading that team down the field. So a lot to be excited. And at this point, what does it matter if you win or not? It's embarrassing to lose to a 1-win team. But now, you know, you're one game out of getting the number 1 pick.
And you also throw in there, too, that the Titans had not scored this many points at all this entire season. They put up 31 against the Browns, and they had not scored on an opening drive at all this season, and they do it against the Browns. A lot of firsts for them today during this game.
This is the worst loss of the year for my money. Before this, we had talked about the Jets being the worst loss of the year because you let a one-win team come in here and you found a way to lose with special teams mistakes. And more special teams mistakes today. But they lost this game, I believe, more so because they just got straight up pushed around on offense. They let the Titan running game, the Titan offense, push them around and run them over. And for me, that's actually way worse than losing a game on special teams. I said last week, I think it was on this show, I thought the Browns should have won this game by double digits because I figured the Browns would be able to run the ball and do enough offensively, and I thought they would bottle this offense up and shut them down because I don't think Cam Ward's that good, and Cam Ward wasn't that good again today. To be shoved around the way they were this afternoon was incredibly embarrassing. And for me, for that reason, this is the worst loss of the year. And that's on top of the whole 2-point stuff, which we can get into that. I understand the analytics. I'm not saying I agree with them, but I understand it. It wasn't a random thing that they went for 2 on the first one. It's a lot of teams do that. But the reason they lost for me is because they decided to not stop the run against a team that until today couldn't run. And they can't throw either. They really can't do anything unless they're in the I almost said Cleveland Browns Stadium. Unless they're at the Cleveland Browns actual stadium and in the snow. What a miserable day.
Well, I kind of agree with you when you said we railed on the Browns offense historically bad, 15.2 a game. This was worse. They were 32nd, averaging 14.2 a game, and they had 14 points in the first quarter.
I mean, I feel like it still makes you just you can't wrap your mind around it, right? Because you have Shador playing so well, which I'll go straight to the Wildcat play at the end of the game. I did not understand of like when he was able to help this team rally back 2 touchdowns, and then you'd make the decision to take him out, and run something not as if someone hasn't technically seen it before. And I think I read about Gage only had about 7 touches in total. And you're already you're using Quinshawn to go towards Gage when he hadn't even had that many NFL touches at that point. I mean, just what a risky play. And then, after the game, they said, hey, this is something we've practiced or whatever. It just didn't work, didn't work in the game, blase. We'll hear from Coach here in a little bit. But just doesn't make any sense. Like, this is what you hang this game on, that last play. I mean, I felt like there could have been a little bit something better, which meant that Shador stayed on the field, who was playing probably his best game of the year by far.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't been the biggest Shador guy. You guys know that. But, I mean, hot hand, he's in a rhythm, got confidence. What are you doing? You're doing the defense a favor if you take him off the field in that moment, and they did. And I've heard somebody say, well, if he remembers to pitch it, Larvin walks in and he's wide open. I don't think it was wide open, but why are we getting cute? And I'll go back. I know they go back to the wild card a lot, and sometimes you use that wildcat traditionally to then set up the play that you're not going to see when you're doing the reverse. You still have to execute,
right? And
you didn't execute because a guy forgot to pitch the ball. Just leave the quarterback in that moment on the field.
And they've ran this play multiple times these last couple of games. So it's not like no one knows that this could possibly be coming when you're facing the Cleveland Browns.
They said Joel Bitonio told us in the locker room that they had been running that play back against the Eagles in training camp. Like they said they've run that play tons of times. But then we get into the conversation too, right? When
Shador wasn't a training – not Shador. Quinshawn wasn't a training camp, right? There you go.
Right.
So he just forgot to pitch it.
Right.
That's the whole problem.
Well, Kevin Stefanski had a lot to say after the game, taking full credit for how this game ended.
We expect more from our run defense. The giveaways there, that's not about who we are. We got to protect the ball. We had a punt blocked, and obviously not getting either of the 2-point plays really off is frustrating. So that's on all of us. We own it. Can't hide from it. It's all of us. It's offense, defense, special teams. It's players and coaches. We'll own it. It's frustrating.
I know you talked about the rookies play up and down, but on that interception, it's as simple as when a play goes on that long, throw it out of bounds.
Yeah, but he'll learn from that. Again, young players, you learn from every turn that's out there. There's some great stuff that you can coach off of. I thought some of his pocket movement was outstanding. Some really, really good throws, especially late in the drive. I thought he was really good there. But always going to learn from our mistakes.
When it's a lot of confusion, when it's a lot of adversity, when it's a lot of things, going on, that's why I feel like God steps in the most for me to be able to help me stay mentally clear and mentally close to him. So I would say that's definitely what was working for me today.
Do you think you showed just the moxie, the never say die relentlessness, the ability to just come back and just fight to the bitter end?
I've been this way. So this is God showing a lot of people who I am. A lot of circumstances, what sometimes get you mentally not in your best place, and you got to find your happy place. You got to find that it for you. So I think that's kind of I've been praying and doing a lot, talking to God this week in general to get back to that place, to get back there. So, yeah, it's him. He the one did it for me.
Shedeur always showing love to God after every game, after anything he does. That's very clear that he's very big in his faith. One thing that I can say is I feel like however they got to Shedeur, which we know was a long road and, lots of drama around it, I do think that he has been able to show that he truly is the best option for this team, considering between him and Dylan right now. I'm not saying Dylan is terrible, but I do think that we've been able to see just more collectively in the games that they've been able to play, just a full rounded game from Shedeur more than we have from Dylan.
You're leaving Deshaun Watson out of that conversation.
No, that's because Deshaun hasn't came out back on the field.
Yes.
I want Deshaun back on the field. I'd love to see him go out there and play, but I think it'd be interesting, and this may be something that we even go further in when we look at that schedule ahead, is do you want to put him in those situations against these teams? Because, again, it's not like you're playing any more teams like the Raiders and the Titans, and the Titans end up being a lot harder than what, a lot of people expected. But you're putting him against people that are all vying for a playoff position. So I'm curious, will they put him in that position to play?
Yeah, I don't know if the Watson thing is the conversation for this week, but it is a conversation for the coming weeks. Absolutely.
Okay, because what's the reason of playing him? Like, at this point, aren't you just trying to develop your rookie quarterback? Like, what benefit? You're not
Let
playing
him get
for
back
anything.
ready.
Yeah,
Ready.
I could tell you what the benefit is, but Shedeur played well today, so in this moment, it'll sound silly, but if, let's say Sanders has three terrible games in a row, because, this team was a bad team they played. And then it's something they do have Watson under contract for next year. There is something to be said. Maybe we play him, and if he looks good, it gives you something to consider in the offseason when you do have two number ones. And I'm explaining the rationale. I don't think this is likely that this guy is going to return to his form or whatever. But if Shedeur goes, again, he played a bad team today. He played well. If he goes in as a big game against the Bears, well, now it's more about let's see what this guy's got versus let's see what Watson has.
All right, well, coming up, we are going to take a little bit of a break, but we're going to talk true or false. Mark brings it every week with these crazy true, false
Shocking
questions.
it involves the quarterback position. You'll see.
And I wonder how many questions we've done that haven't involved Stefanski or a quarterback. I feel like every week, because that's just the main thing.
Play the hits.
Yeah, we'll take a quick break and we'll be right back.
All right, true false question of the week. This one's I have to nuance this a little bit because this will sound like a Cam Ward versus Shedeur Sanders question, and it is not. True or false, you would rather be the Browns with a quarterback situation than the Titans with their quarterback situation. And where I'm going with this is, one, you have to believe what your opinion is on Cam Ward. I don't think really, I don't think Cam Ward's going to be that guy. I could very easily be wrong. But with the Browns, you can say that's a Shedeur thing. It is a Shedeur thing with Watson in the room and with two number ones, and you could go get a guy in the draft or something like that. You would rather be the Browns with still some flexibility and Watson and Sanders versus the Titans and have the guy they just took 1-1. True, false, you would rather be the Browns.
Go ahead, Ashley.
I say true, and you're just going by the question is you'd rather be the Browns in just their situation over Cam.
Correct.
Ward.
This is not. I would rather have Shedeur over Cam. There's options other than Shedeur.
Right. Yeah. I think in this season, the way that things have been going, I'll say true, and I'll say true because I do think that Shedeur has potential to be a long-term option for the Browns. And yes, he's had to go through about 4 quarterbacks just for him to get his chance. But I think he almost comes off because you get him in the 5th round like a diamond in a rough. So I feel like in his situation, he's been able to also not only grow from that adversity, and he also has, in his situation, he has a little bit more, in my opinion, a lot more weapons than Cam does in their situation necessarily.
The Browns with weapons.
Yeah.
Well,
what?
I'm saying I'm saying weapons that can do
Jerry
something.
Judy.
Jerry Judy
Okay, whoa,
had
whoa,
one
whoa,
touchdown today.
I don't know about
he
that.
He nearly injured himself
Right,
on the
and-
celebration.
And going by that, just really quickly, we see that after that touchdown, now they're buddy on the sidelines. Jerry wasn't yelling at him there, but I just say more weapons of what they're able to produce, considering what the Tennessee Titans and Cam has been able to do with obviously a 1-11 team essentially. So yeah, and I don't know if Cam Ward is a long-term option for the Titans. I mean, you draft them, so you got to
Took
keep
them
them.
1-1. They're stuck with him.
Yeah,
and
it
that's
doesn't matter.
why.
So you have next couple of years to figure it out.
That's why I phrased it that way. They have their guy, but would
the Browns
you rather still be searching, or would you rather have that guy? It's up to you guys. Go ahead.
All right, I would say true. I will put an asterisk. I don't like the financial situation the Browns are in because they are tied with Deshaun Watson's contract, and whether he plays or not, they cannot move on financially. $80 million committed to him, dead cap next year, and so I do think the Browns have more options. If they decide Sanders is the guy, they don't need to draft one, or they feel there's an upgrade in the draft better than what Sanders or Gabriel provide, they have more options. I do think they have some overall pieces to work with. You got a defense to build with.
This one was hard for me, Mark, because if history tells us anything, it's that the Browns always have like the worst quarterback situation ever. Mm-hmm. So if I'm going based off of history, I would say that like they don't have their current franchise guy here and it's not a better situation. And that's what logic would tell me. And just looking at the Browns' past. However, if I'm just looking at the situation right now and I'm not looking at the history of the Browns, I would be inclined to say true for all the same reasons that you guys have said. But if Shador is not their guy, he showed some promise today. They played a bad team, like you said. There's ways for them. They can go and potentially get another guy. Now, what good quarterback are they going to have in this upcoming class? I'm not sure. We haven't gone that far yet. But I'd be inclined to say true, but like my gut wants me to say false because looking at the history of Browns with quarterback, I think they're in a worse situation.
Yeah, it looks like a Shador question. For me, it's more of a Cam Ward question.
But it's my thing with that too is like, yeah, he hasn't done anything like dazzling, but also like it's so early on in his career too. I don't know.
That is the fair counterpoint. Running up to the draft, I read in so many places and heard from we all do our draft stuff because it's what we talk about for so much in this town. That had Ward been in the previous draft with Bryce Young and C.J. Stroud and those guys, he would have been like the 4th or 5th quarterback drafted. Yep. And I've read and heard that from more than one place. And then he comes out and you see, before today, I think he had 7 touchdowns. There's like nothing here feels dynamic. And if you ask me to like, hey, rank the Browns' ability to have a quarterback, I would say 1 would be either future draft capital or trade or whatever. And then I'd have to decide second to that, is it Watson or Sanders? And then the loser of that would be third. So where would I would probably rather have the Browns' future draft capital.
Yeah.
And then I might have Cam Ward, and then I'd have the Browns' options after that. But because they have future flexibility, I think I'd rather be them. Now, can they cash in on that? I have no idea. And to your point, they haven't. But if the Browns had Cam Ward, I don't think they'd cash in there either. So I'd rather go with the unknown than all of the knowns.
That's fair.
And that's really where I'm going with that question.
I think that's fair.
Well, one thing that the Browns, if Stefanski doesn't get fired at the end of the season, you'd have to think that most likely they are going to pick up a quarterback, and he probably still doesn't want Shador Sanders to be their main guy. I mean, we don't really know.
Shador could force their hand.
Yeah, you know what they say. It's like, hey, like he's trying to derail his career and blah blah. I mean, I'm just making jokes, but no, seriously. I mean, I do think if Stefanski were to stay, I could see them still trying to go pick up another quarterback next season. Who knows? But one thing I will say is we were talking. Fred, you brought it up, $80 million. Left with Deshaun. That is just not enough money to live on, as we know. That's what OBJ was talking about
Oh my
earlier,
gosh, that
right?
made me
It's
laugh.
just not
That was
enough
on
money to live
Tailgate.
on. $80 million, it's just not going to
Got
take
to
it.
pay
But we're gonna-
tax on that.
Exactly, especially when you take the tax. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back. We're going to look ahead at the rest of the Browns schedule. All right, so it's not a pretty sexy schedule left for the Browns. They got the Bears next week on the road, the Bills here at home, and then the Steelers at home, and the Bengals on the road. A lot of these don't seem like winnable games, but at this point, it is a tough schedule the rest of the way through. A lot of these people are going to be battling to get into the playoffs, and they are going to need this win. Guys, what do we think on this?
I think the Browns lose out. I don't think they win a game the rest of the year. I think they finish at 3-14. And wasn't it Kevin Stefanski, or not? Wasn't it Jimmy Haslam? I think it was in training camp when he said 4 and whatever isn't going to cut it.
No, he said that their record that they had last year, 3 wins, wasn't going to cut it.
He's going to have to decide if he's going to stand by that because
Yeah.
they probably, at best, they win 4. But I don't see them beating. They're not better right now than any of these teams, and even the Bengals with a bad record with Joe Burrow, they're better than the Browns, and all those other teams are definitely better than the Browns. I think he's got 3 wins, and he's going to have to decide if he's going to fire a head coach after he said he would fire him at the 3-win season.
Yeah, I mean, I want to retract when I said I thought they beat the Steelers. I think we all picked they beat the Titans.
Not me.
But I said, you all said 1 more win. I said 2. Now, yeah, there's no advantage to win, out. I mean, is where you're at now, what do you have? 3 wins, 4 wins, 5 wins. I don't know if that saves your coach's job or if that saves. I think, how they play might, but I would think you lose to the Jets and the Titans and the way you're playing. 3 wins. He's 6-26. In 6-24
In his last 27
in the
games.
last 2 years. I'm
You shouldn't survive that.
not in the NFL. Last year, teams better records fired their coaches than that, and I don't know what they're seeing to build on.
It's just crazy to me that they could have this rookie class that they have, the defense that they have, and they could still have the exact same record that they had last season.
Yeah.
So the only thing you have to play for is you hope that Myles Garrett can get the sack record. That's the only other thing we have to look forward to, which he's 3 sacks away from getting that. And then what you have out of Shador. And Myles, Shador, all those guys, they're still going to go out there and compete. They're still going to give themselves a chance. Are these winnable games the way we would look on paper? No, but maybe they'll steal one. They always surprise us, so maybe they'll steal one.
Yeah, I definitely think there's a chance to steal one. Do I think it's going to happen? Probably not. If I had to guess, maybe it would be the Bengals one. I always give them that, that wild. That's a wild card for me. I don't think so because depending what the Ravens do, they're going to need to take that AFC North, right? So I'm kind of no, they've got to put themselves in the best position because we know they upset me every playoffs. But I will say the Bears are playing lights out right now too, and they're tied with the Packers 21-21 right now. So I just think that's going to be a lot harder. And then the Bills too, always a tough team. So it's not going to be easy, like you guys said, the rest of the way. But like you said, you look forward to what Shador's going to do the rest of the way and what they're able to accomplish. And obviously Myles Garrett, and the Titans did a really good job on Myles Garrett today. They were making sure that he was not going to get to Cam Ward.
They ran at him or went the other way. Miles was asked about it. He said, they ran the ball a lot. You can't get a sack. You cannot pass it.
All right, well, it comes down. The Browns, the losers to the Tennessee Titans, 31-29. Guys, this is not exactly what we thought we'd be talking about, but here we are once again. We will be back here next week to break down another edition of Off the Leash after the Bears game.
We can talk about the Chargers
We can talk about the Chargers, too.
Yeah, why not?
But all right, for Ashley Holder, Leah Doherty, Mark Schwab, and OBR's Fred Greetham, have a good night. See ya.